Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1919 AN. Today's date is July 17th, 2019, and the title of the episode is Rate Cuts Coming Right on Schedule. Central Bank Takes the Bait. Now, before I get started, I wanted to talk about the Q coin. Have you heard about the new Q coin? Q has captured the mood of America and given a voice to a movement. You can now be a real part of that movement. This very special coin has deep meaning engraved in every space, from the 17 references to the lightning bolt, which is the key to another world. If you follow Q, this coin is a no-brainer for you. Go to greatawakeningcoin.com and use the code X22 Report to get $5 off when you buy 2 coins or more. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, as we know, Trump and the Patriots, they have a plan to reestablish the economy without the central bank and allow the United States to function the way it is supposed to function, and to move the United States out of this globalist plan. And the plan is working. The central bank is taking the bait. They're doing exactly what Trump and the Patriots want. How do you catch a fish? You lure it in with bait. And we can see by what is happening with the Fed, what is happening with the IMF, it is all now coming together. And we'll be talking about that in just a moment. But first, let's head out to the UK and let's talk about the Brexit. Now, we understand that Theresa May and the EU, they had this little deal and they tried to get this Brexit plan through. It wasn't the people's deal. It wasn't the people's plan. It was the EU, the central bank establishment, the non-elected leaders who wanted what they wanted. The people rejected it. The people said, no, this is not what we had a referendum for. And they decided to get rid of Theresa May. Now we have Boris Johnson, and he is doing something very, very interesting. First of all, he said, hey, listen, no matter what, by October, we're going to remove ourselves from the EU. Deal or no deal doesn't make a difference. Now, the people said, listen, if you don't come through on this, you're going to have to resign. Now, what's very interesting about this time frame is that Parliament is typically out of session for between 1 and 2 weeks ahead of the Queen's speech, meaning MPs would be, in effect, be unavailable to stop a no-deal Brexit immediately before October 31st. First of all, that's very interesting. Smart move on Boris Johnson's part. And if he can do this, and if this does play out, Boris Johnson will get his way. The people will get their way. The Brexit will happen. And the EU will be standing there wondering what just happened. We had this incredible deal that was going to benefit us. And now we have no deal. And the Brexit actually happened. Now again, the central bank, the EU, they might try something. Remember, they use fear, they use events. And this is something that we need to look at. But once the UK actually leaves, do you think other countries are going to say, you know something? We're going to follow what the UK did. Italy might do it. Hungary might do it. If Le Pen wins, or should I say when she wins against Macron, maybe France will do it. Same thing with Germany. And all of a sudden, these non-elected leaders, they're leaders of nothing. And this is how a movement starts. Now, here in the United States, this central bank system that we're in, it is collapsing very, very quickly. And again, we need to make a distinction. There is a central bank economy which has been established since 1913. Then in 1940, they changed it over with Bretton Woods. Then in 1971, they changed it over with the petrodollar. Here we are at the end stage of the 1971 petrodollar central bank system, where they can create as much fiat currency as they want, and the government can borrow as much as they want. The whole thing cannot be sustained. Trump and the Patriots, they're working on another economy which is now in the works of being developed. But when we look at the central bank economy, everything is falling apart. And Trump and the Patriots, they know they can't allow the central bank system to fall apart. Why do you think they've been pumping up the stock market? Why do you think they're continuing with the manipulation of all these numbers? Because they need to keep this operational long enough to move to a new system. Now, when we look at some of the indicators, they are just horrible. If we look at housing, we look at housing quite a bit, the housing market is declining. Even with interest rates declining right now, we're seeing building permits, they have plunged most in 3 years, despite the rates falling, which means the rates haven't come down enough. I don't know if you remember back in 2008, 2009, but at that time, I was selling a home, and all these realtors were coming out, and they were telling me, oh, you have to do this, you have to do that. They didn't understand the market. And then I decided to look at the market and say, all right, what is going on here? Which houses are selling? Which houses aren't selling? Well, I noticed houses that are 200, 300, 400,000, those were selling. Anything above that, they were not selling. So the strategy was to come below those numbers. Even if it was a short sale, you needed to be below that number to even get people interested in the home. Why do I say this? Why am I giving this example? It's the same thing with people looking to get a mortgage. Yes, the interest rate might be 4.5, 4.7, but for these people to get into the market, it has to drop below a certain number. Now, Trump and the Patriots, they know this. They know that they're going to have to drop these rates quite a bit to get to this magical number where people say, you know something, I'm in the market now. Now I can go ahead and I can purchase a home. Now I can go ahead and purchase this automobile. Now I can go ahead and do whatever I need to do. And this is why Trump and the Patriots are out there pushing rate cuts, pushing stimulus. Is it going to make the economy all better? No. The point of all of this is to keep the economy going long enough for Trump to win the election. That's it. Because if the economy implodes, collapses before 2020, Trump will be blamed. What do you think the mainstream media is going to do? They're going to attack him. All the Democratic candidates, they're going to attack him. He knows this. The Patriots know this. And this is why he is asking for rate cuts and stimulus, just to keep this central bank system, which is imploding, alive long enough, keep it on life support, long enough for him to win the election. That is it. You can't fix this system. You have to throw it out and bring in a system that actually works. Now, what's very interesting is that Powell is out there and he is saying that they're ready to cut rates. And the mainstream media, they are scratching their head and they're trying to figure out why in the world would the Fed cut rates right now. This is coming out of the Wall Street Journal. Fed rate cut plans stop making sense. Latest economic data don't show a need for monetary stimulus from the Federal Reserve. The facts have changed, but the Federal Reserve sure doesn't seem like it is changing its mind. The Fed's reasons for cutting rates have become less and less compelling. There is no reason why the Fed should cut rates, except one: to keep the entire economic system chugging along long enough for Trump to win the election. That's it. I mean, the economic data would tell you to raise rates. That tells you who's in control. Now, what's very interesting, and we've been saying this for quite a while, Trump has been baiting the central bank, especially the IMF. And the IMF has taken the bait. And they're warning that the global economies will contract by $455 billion next year due to the ongoing trade conflict between the U.S. and China. Think about that for a second. Because of what is happening between the U.S. and China, the entire world is going to contract. Now, Trump, the Patriots, they've baited the IMF. Why? Well, number one, we know that Trump and the Patriots, they're going to make a trade deal with China. Now, are they going to make it today? Most likely not. Will they make it by the end of the year? Maybe. Will they make it by the beginning of the year? Well, I think the percentages are getting higher and higher as we move to 2020. But we need to think about what the IMF is saying. Is the global economy really contracting? And they gave a number, $455 billion. It's probably more or less. It doesn't really make a difference at this point. What they're telling you is that Trump, by doing what he's doing, removing the globalist trade deals, it is costing the central banks billions and billions of dollars. Where is this money going? To the United States, of course. Remember, Trump is unraveling, dismantling the globalist trade system. And all those funds that were flowing away from the United States are now coming back, pulling it out of the central bank economy, helping the United States, bringing it all back here. So what is he really doing? He's reversing the IMF trade wealth distribution model. Now remember, the central bankers, the deep state, they have never encountered someone who decided on his own with others behind him to dismantle their system. This is a shock to them. Think about what he's doing. Think about what he's taking on right now. He's taking on the EU, Asia, World Bank, International Monetary Fund, China, Russia, U.S. Chamber of Commerce, Iran, U.S. Congress, Democrats, U.S. Senate, Wall Street, the big boy club, lobbyists, Hollywood, corporate media, foreign and domestic, and all of these financial interests are aligned against mainstream USA and against Trump. That's what he is up against. And this individual with other individuals behind him, they are pushing a brand new economic plan, which they don't want because it is pulling billions and billions out of their system and back into the United States. What happens when the trade deals are made? Tariffs are eased. The central bank economies will still be in trouble. Actually, it'll be much, much worse because a lot of those funds that were flowing out to them, they will continue to flow back into the United States. And actually, once the deals are made, even more is going to flow back into the United States. The Patriots, Trump and the Patriots, they've reworked, or in the process of reworking the central bank globalist trade deals. And it does not fit what they want. It actually hurts their entire system. So what happens to their economy when this is all said and done? It collapses because it cannot be sustained with all this debt. When you have all this debt and you pull out all of this money, I should say currency, in the billions, maybe even in the trillions when all said and done, their system comes to an end. And when Trump and China iron out the trade deals and there's no more trade war and the tariffs are eased, who's exposed? The central bank, whose system is collapsing. The central bank. Trump then will question, well, we've made these incredible deals. The United States is doing much, much better. Currency is flowing back into the United States. What's happening with the rest of the world? What's happening with the central bank system? They took the bait. They blamed it on trade deals, trade wars, and tariffs. And this is going to be their downfall. Because once the trade deals are made and tariffs are eased, there's nothing to hide behind anymore. they're completely exposed. Well done, Patriots. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.